Welcome back. Now, for some time now, Makerere University has been ranked highly internationally on account of its rich, research prowess. Now, some of those research findings have been in the IT world, where the word innovation is taken very seriously. Now, leading this effort is the Resilience Africa Network, which is part of the School of Public Health. Now, last week alone, the institution hosted the Innovation Fireplace, where innovators met to share ideas on how to improve the world. Now, today we have the director of the Eastern African Resilience Africa Lab, Mr. Nathan Tumuhamie. Thank you so much for making time and welcome to Morning at 10 TV.
Thank you so much for hosting us.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Right.
Now, there's been this narrative in this country that, with many people complaining that the education system isn't letting our students be innovative. Now, my question, how is it that you were able to find innovative minds at universities?
Oh, thank you so much. The truth is that world over, if you want to find innovations, you go to universities. If you look at most of the universities across the world, they have been the champions of the several innovations that we have. What lacks in most of the universities, especially in the African setting, is creating an ecosystem that allows students and faculty actually to be able to innovate, given that most of the students will come to the university focusing on how do I complete my degree. So that's usually the focus. But also, how do you create that ecosystem that will allow students to innovate beyond even getting the degree, but also turn their degrees into innovative ideas that are able to solve different challenges outside there. So over the last 7 years, we've been working with universities across Africa, trying to breed this ecosystem that allows students to innovate. And this has been through the different ecosystem activities, of which the Innovation Fireplace is one of them. And the Innovation Fireplace came into our mind in that when we are growing, we would usually have what we call a fireplace within our kitchens, in our homes, where we tell stories.
There
are several stories. Yeah, our ancestors used to tell stories through the fireplaces that they have. So we wanted to translate this into the innovation ecosystem by creating what we call an innovation fireplace, where different innovators come together and start telling their stories of how they have grown over time with their enterprises. So within this ecosystem, we bring successful enterprises locally here in Uganda to speak to the different innovators within our universities, so that the innovators are more encouraged to think about their ideas and think about how to scale those ideas beyond just coming up with an idea and it ends.
So ideally, your main target right now are the university students.
We've been working with the universities.
So have you contemplated maybe earlier interventions targeting these innovators from a very young age, maybe primary level?
Yes, we have programs that are running in secondary school. We have what we call a Tech Innovation Program at the Resilient Africa Network, which is currently running in over 50 secondary schools in this country. We are working in northern Uganda. We are working with Gayaza High School. We are working with Makerere College. We are working with several secondary schools, including schools in Kanungu district, actually, Nyaka Foundation. We are working with them to come up with innovations, especially that address HIV, because they have been working on several programs related to HIV. So we are working with young students from a secondary school, which was founded under the basis of HIV, livelihoods, and so on. So we have quite a number of programs running in secondary schools. We also actually open up the space for the young innovators, including those in primary school, to be able to work with us at the Resilience.
When it comes to innovation, I'm really passionate about this subject. Now, is the onus on the student or the university vis-a-vis the school when it comes to innovation?
I think it's...
Who should like, the priority? Is it on the student or the teacher? Should the student wait for the teacher, or is it the other way around?
It should be about an ecosystem, as I said. So you need to create an environment that targets both students and the teacher. And that's why our programs are not only looking at the students, because what an innovator thinks is based on what either what is surrounding your environment, and the teacher is part of this environment, who is teaching you on a daily basis. So the teacher also needs to know approaches. For example, we have courses that we take through all the teachers within these universities on how they can creatively impact the innovative ideas into the students. So we have what we call the human-centered design, which targets both students and teachers to be able to think creatively on the different things that they do.
All right, Mr. Tumuhami, someone would ask, okay, fine, you have clearly said that you have programs on primary level, secondary level, and key focus on university. What then happens to that innovator who is not in any of this, 3 clusters? Do they die with struggling to make it with the innovation? What happens to them? Is there any plug-in system that you've created for such people?
A very, very good question. We already saw that within our design of the programs, when we saw that most of the fabricators, like in Katwe, we are doing a lot of work that would actually help our students within the universities to be able to improve the design of their products. So what we do is that we have a program which we call Pitch Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, we open up the space for everyone from anywhere, not only universities, to get onto our innovation space, which is based here at Kororo, and they are able to present these ideas. The Innovation Fireplace is not only open to students, it's open even to the local artisans who are able to come and share how they have been able to succeed within their ecosystem, and the students are able to learn from them. So the space is there, and the ecosystem has been created even to cater for those who are not necessarily within universities. And that's why, like when we work with the media houses like you, when we are publicizing such kind of ecosystem events, we are targeting everyone in the ecosystem because we need mentors. Part of the things that happen within these fireplaces to bring mentors within this very activity, so that these young innovators speak to these mentors who have successfully been able to go through this
So there's
process.
a system of mentorship, accountability that happens in there.
Exactly. There are 3 key things that happen and that we target within the fireplace. One of them is mentorship, where the innovators are able to come and meet new mentors, especially within the fields where they are working in. The second one is the issue of speak to the successful entrepreneurs and learn how to scale. So scaling is one of the key aspects that we look at when we are speaking about the innovation ecosystem. And then the third one is we usually focus on user-centric designs. As innovators, how do you focus on the users? Not focus on the technology, but focus on who is going to use this technology. And those are main things that we usually focus on within this ecosystem, so that as innovators think about their ideas, they are able to
they have from when Innovator X plugs in, what then happens to the process, and at what point do you consider them good enough to go to the market and fly away?
We have 3 processes. We have a process we call acceleration program, where we already know that there are quite a number of good ideas out there that require to be supported to move to scale. So those will come in through an exhibition which will be organized to identify them, or through the Pitch Tuesdays that we have every Tuesday where entrepreneurs come and do the pitching. So through this process, we identify those promising innovations and enterprises, and then we use what we call innovation diagnostic panel to identify which kind of support these innovators need. Some of the innovators do not need resources to design. They need linkage to
the
venture
markets.
capitalists,
Right.
to the markets, to the users. So we focus on to that. And that's now the acceleration program, where depending on the stage that you come in, we do a diagnostic, and then we are able to know what you need, and we exactly provide that. And we have tools that help us to support that process. Then there is a process which we call ideation, where new ideas come into the process, and therefore it's just an idea. Someone has an idea.
Zero
overhead.
prototype.
You were in the toilet and you thought about an idea,
Right.
and you want to put it onto paper and then start implementing it. So we also have that process where new ideas come in, and then we support the ideation process through linkage to the community, the design process, linkage to the mentors, and then we do hand-holding to make sure that those ideas get to a level that they are at. And within all that process, there are quite a number of stakeholders that we work with.
Okay.
Because one of the key issues is patenting and copyright.
Right.
So apparently we are working with Uganda Registration Services Bureau, the Social Innovation Venture. So there are a number of partners that we work with to provide that kind of support. We are working with Enterprise Uganda to support business development, because most of these innovations must be self-sustaining.
Right.
So how do we embed business and scaling within the innovation design? So we need people who are experts in business development to provide that support within the innovation ecosystem. So also that is also an area. So new ideas will come in, but they will also provided with different stages. And of course we have an innovation pipeline that we use. Do you come in at the design stage? How do you get to the pilot?
Right.
How do you get to the initial scale? And then how do you get to wider adoption? So depending on how you come in, we also take you through along that innovation pipeline that we use at the network.
Okay.
And then the last one is basically the Youth Spark Innovation Grant, which is basically looking at the young innovators within universities and secondaries to make sure that we can also provide that ecosystem for them. And then recently we are working with the Ministry of ICT
Right.
to provide incubation support for the ICT innovations, of which we have successfully completed the first phase, and now we are getting to the second phase. Out of the, we had received 15 teams from the Ministry of ICT, and 6 of these, I'm happy to say that, are getting to a stage where they now want to start working on their enterprises as social enterprises and their own companies, which we are proud of.
Okay.
So things are pretty much moving in the right direction.
Yeah, they are really moving in the right direction. Not that easy, but at least with the system that we've created at the university, we are able to provide this. Okay. And now this has also been even more energized with the current government innovation grant that has been given to Makerere University. So the government of Uganda has recently provided the university with 30 billion to support innovation and research.
Awesome. And
so this is, we think with this grant that has just come in, it's also going to widen the scope of the innovation activities within the university. And we hope that Makerere University actually in the next few years, we should be thinking of the first position in this continent.
Indeed.
So and that's our target now.
So Nathan, what are some of the achievements you can verifiably boast of since the inception of the Resilient Africa Network?
One is we've been able to support 349 innovation projects, of which 46 are now independent enterprises. They are on their own, and one of these you've heard about the solar irrigation pump, which government of Uganda has taken on, and they are going to massively now roll this out into the whole constituencies in the whole country. That has been one of the innovations. You've heard about, we've been supporting innovations like Acorion, Emom Rimisa, which are using
yes,
ICT,
Acorion, yes,
which
to
are
support
using,
farmers.
Yeah, to support farmers
Right.
through what we call the village agent model, which we've been working with to make sure that they support farmers in rural communities.
So Acorion actually went through you?
It went through us. So
Can we
that's
fist thump? They're doing
that's
amazingly well.
Yeah, so that's who we are as a network, and we are proud that we are supporting young entrepreneurs to be able to create jobs, to
Okay.
you know, be able to think about their ideas and make a contribution to this country and this continent.
Okay.
But also one of the key achievements is being able to create a very vibrant innovation ecosystem within all the universities that we are working in, because apparently we are working in 22 universities across Africa.
Okay, Mr. Tumuhamie, we have this thing that I don't think it's just an African problem, where innovators never, you know, get what is rightfully theirs once their innovations take off. We'll talk about mobile money transfers. That young person who came up with that idea today does not benefit from it, and yet world over it's innovation that has been taken up by different telecom companies. We have M-Pesa that took it up and ran with it. Here mobile money as well, across the globe it's been taken over and working amazingly well for actually the entire world and the people living in it, you know, because now it's easy to just send money, you know, via your mobile phone. Now my question is on patenting. You said that you are, you know, partnering with URSB to ensure these ideas are patented, and you know, patenting is not cheap. It comes at a cost. So what is that partnership like? Does it mean that if I'm an innovator and I run, then that cost is footed by RAN in partnership with URSB? What exactly happens in that front?
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, you need to know that patenting is beyond the cost, but it's providing also partly is to provide information to this innovator alongside the innovation design. When do I need to start thinking about patenting? Most innovators want to think about patenting when they already have a product. And by the time you get a product, it has already gone viral, you've pitched it in several platforms and so on. And so at that time, in fact, you may find that you have nothing to patent.
Correct.
So that is partly we have to provide that information of what process do you need to go through to be able to patent your product, and at what stage do you start thinking about patenting.
So do you patent
That's
at
part
idea
of that
stage?
process. Even an idea stage is okay, it's allowed.
All right.
But now that's now the process that we go through at first. Then when it gets to the actual patenting and registrations, yes, we provide some support. We don't have the resources to make sure that we register every innovation, but there are some products where we don't want to lose, and therefore we must move faster to patent them and register them. For example, I will give the recent example of the ICT innovations that we have. We have what we call the Kawalet. No time to talk about it, but
yes.
there are about 4 innovations which we thought that they needed to register very fast and get onto business. And these have been provided with resources to register.
Okay.
But the most important thing is provide information to the innovators to be able to know at what stage I need to patent my idea. We had a very nice experience when we had just started the RAN in around 2015, where one of the innovators struggled and is actually up to now in a court. I will not mention for purposes of not disclosing, because it's a court process, where a telephone company, a telecom company, was able to run away with their idea because he ran there to be able to work with them, and they support him to develop this idea. But this was not the case. And part of what we support the innovators is that if you're to start working with different partners, what process, what system do you need to put in place to protect your idea as you work with these partners? Like you need to sign the non-disclosure agreements so that your idea is protected even as I work with you as a caring partner.
It's great to know that you actually support your innovators to that extent, because you know, even in the business space nowadays, entrepreneurs no longer want to share proposals, because you share your proposal, they run with the idea, and you find them executed already without you being involved.
Exactly.
So it's a huge problem that we ought to you know, address.
But at least we've created that system where the innovators will know what to do before they start engaging people who are likely to run away with their ideas.
Correct.
So Nathan, how can others students with inquiring minds be part of such a venture, or better yet, join the support arm of the Resilient Africa Network?
Thank you so much. As I told you, we have a number of ecosystem activities that goes on at the network. The Fire Press is monthly. They should watch our social media platforms and our website to make sure they don't miss the next one, which is going to be next month.
What is the address?
The
Social media?
Yeah, we have Africa Resilient, that's the Twitter. We have Resilient Africa Network for Facebook, and also we have our website. Just enter Resilient Africa Network, you'll be able to access everything.
So
on
what's
our
the
website.
criteria to follow?
Twitter, you just like us, and then you'll be able to get those
Information.
updates all the time. Facebook, the same, just like our Facebook account. You'll also be able to follow the events that will be happening at the network. We have Pitch Tuesdays, as I told you. Every Tuesday we bring in, we are open, we bring in innovators, they pitch, and then we have mentors and experts to provide feedback on the pitch, on the innovations that are pitched. So those are events that are happening. We have the social garages, where we are focusing on social innovations this time, social enterprises, not tech, not what, but looking at social enterprises.
Right.
We have the monthly innovation garages, which happen also on a monthly basis. So we have quite a number of activities where innovators are able to get to our innovation space, which is just at Plot 30 Upper Kororo Terrace, just next to the traffic lights at the airstrip.
All right.
So they can always come. We have an innovation space which is available for every student, every faculty.
Cost free?
Cost free.
All right.
Internet is there, so innovators can always come and meet mentors, be able to meet the different people whom they can speak to in regard to their innovation design and other activities that they need to get involved in as it regards to innovation processes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nathan, as we wrap up, what needs to be done to promote innovation in Uganda vis-a-vis Africa?
One is apparently, I think what we need most is to be able to provide an ecosystem environment for the innovators, for the innovations to thrive. I know the government is trying to put the innovation space, but we need equipment. We've had several innovators who are working into health, but for them to be able to assemble their products, they have to go to China, they
Correct.
have to go to India, they have to go to Portugal and so on. So we need to provide that space that is well equipped for innovators, and that would minimize on the cost if we can provide the necessary equipment for supporting innovators to assemble their products. The other aspect that we need is we need a policy that will protect these innovators. And this policy should look at the different stakeholders. If I'm working in ICT, what do I need? If I'm working into financial inclusion on the fintech innovations, what do I need? So that we avoid, getting onto, if I am ICT, I have to go to ICT. We need to create a system which is a one-stop center for all the innovations to thrive within that system without keeping on going, go to Bank of Uganda, go to this, so that it becomes very difficult for the different innovators to juggle around this. And definitely we also need funding. In most of these countries, in Europe, in the US, where we have visited, you realize that there is quite a lot of funding that is given to entrepreneurs and enterprises, given that we don't have a culture of social ventures here, venture capitalists. We also need to provide a fund that will support these innovators. Of course, this fund should be targeted. You don't just give out money that go and innovate. But there are quite a number of successful entrepreneurs that will need to move to another level, and you can do that diagnosis and provide that funding. And lastly, you need also to link these markets to the East African community and African Union markets, because there are quite a number of innovations that are ready to get onto this market, but how do we link these markets, these innovators to the markets even outside the country?
I couldn't agree more with you, because it boils down to nothing. Once you have this innovation that actually came from an idea to a prototype to something that can be marketed, and then it just doesn't take off because of that gap of linkage to the markets, which is critical. Thank you so much for coming through. We were joined by...
Well, we were speaking to the director director of the Eastern Africa Resilience Innovation Lab, that is Mr. Nathan Tumuhamye, trying to understand details related to innovation in Uganda, and he has been very insightful. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Well, right about now, we're going to link into our reporter, Stephen Mbide, who has the latest with regards with traffic on our roads. Mbide, my brother, what's the latest?